Welcome back to India Business Insights. This is the next episode in our series Wealth Through Millennia. Imagine a fabric so soft, so impossibly delicate that a full 6-yard sari could be drawn through a single finger ring. This wasn't a Dhaka invention. It was a culmination of 2000-year-old Indian textile tradition, perfected in Bengal. They called it Baft Hawa, which means woven air. It was also known as Shabnam, evening dew, and Abarvan, flowing water. Today, we unravel how this legendary textile represented the peak of Indian ancient wearing heritage, how it created immense wealth, and why it got vanished. And can we bring this pan-Indian craft back or not? Let's find out. India's distributed textile empire, the pre-Dhaka heritage. Here's what most people get wrong about Dhaka muslins. It wasn't born in Dhaka. It was refined there. Fine cotton muslin was being woven across India over 2 millennia before Mughals elevated Dhaka. The Bengal Delta, spanning modern Bangladesh and West Bengal, was the epicenter, but the craft was pan-Indian. Archaeological evidences from Machilipatnam shows muslin trade with Rome in 1st century. Patna and Radhanagar produced fine muslins, which has been praised even by Persian manuscripts. Malda in Bengal had its own renowned varieties. Surat of Gujarat exported painted muslins along with silks. Even Varanasi weavers borrowed technique from muslin traditions to refine their sheer silks. Chanakya's Arthashastra mentions a fine cotton from East as a state-regulated export. So when Dhaka emerged as a brand, it was standing on the shoulders of distributed network of weaving clusters across the subcontinent. Mughals didn't create the craft, they concentrated it. They took an existing sophisticated industry and funneled its absolute finest outputs into imperial monopoly. This distinction is crucial because it means that knowledge was not uniquely Dhaka's, it was India's. The spinning techniques, the humid climate adjustments, and the pit looms. These were refined versions of the practices that existed across riverine weaving centers, from Narmada to Brahmaputra. The imperial consolidation, Mughal control system. During the Mughal zenith, Dhaka became the showcase of India's textile wealth. But the system behind it reveals how imperial powers concentrated an existing distributed craft. The Mughal court established karkhanas in Dhaka and Sonargaon, appointing a Darogahi Malbus Khas to supervise. But here's the key. They didn't train the new weavers from scratch. They recruited the best estrangeds from existing weaving families across Bengal and neighboring regions, registering them as imperial servants. This was appropriation of existing skill pool. The finest weavers, perhaps 1,000 families, were forbidden from selling Malmal Khasa to anyone but court. While this created a powerful brand, it also fragmented the distributed heritage. Weavers in Patna, Malda, and other centers to serve the imperial center in Dhaka. The Jagat Seths, Bengal's bankers to the world, financed this consolidation. They provided the credit to merchants for the commercial grades of muslins that continued to flow from multiple centers, while separately managing the treasury for imperial monopoly. The result? Dhaka got the prestige, but the underlying craft knowledge remained pan-Indian. European traders bought muslins from Bengal ports, but also from Gujarat and Coromandel coast. The difference was branding and imperial focus, not exclusive technique. The thread count that defied physics, shared techniques. The 800 to 1200 thread count wasn't Dhaka's secret. It was the perfection of technique refined across Indian weaving centers for centuries. The star was Phuti Karpas, but similar fineness was achieved elsewhere using locally adopted cotton varieties. The humidity-based spinning, that technique was documented in ancient Sangam literature, describing weavers on Kaveri Delta. The submerged pit loom, found in excavations of Harappan sites and still used in Odisha's traditional weaving. When Dhaka had its optional conditions, the Meghna River's unique microclimate, specific cotton variant, and imperial concentration of talent. But the knowledge framework, spinning in dew, using natural tools like catfish teeth for carding, and the 16-step process. All this was part of a broader Indian textile science. The strength came from natural fiber twist inherent to short staple cottons, humidity maintained suppleness during weaving, tension control control mastered by weavers across India's riverine regions. This is why asking, can we recreate it in India, is a wrong question. The right question is, can we reactivate the distributed knowledge system that existed across weaving centers? The tragic decline, impact across India. When the British East India Company took control after 1757, they didn't just destroy Dhaka, they dismantled India's entire distributed textile ecosystem. First, they forced weavers across Bengal, Bihar and Odisha into exploitative contracts. Patna muslin weavers saw their market collapse. Malda's fine cotton trade was evaporated. Gujarat's muslin exports were choked by British tariffs. The price pressure was devastating across all centers. The Phuti Karpas cotton went extinct because the farmers everywhere switched to more profitable crops. The knowledge transfer between the centers, once active through traveling artisans and merchants, broke down. By 1900, it wasn't just Dhaka who lost muslin. India lost pan-India craft. The distributed heritage that had survived millennia collapsed in 2 generations because the network effect was destroyed. The revival. Reactivating India's distributed heritage. Bangladesh's revival efforts is inspiring, but it reveals the pan-Indian potential. When botanists found Phuti Karpas in Kapasia in 2014, they proved that the cotton can be recultivated. But here is the crucial point. India's agroclimate diversity offers multiple potential sites. The Ganges Delta in West Bengal has nearly identical conditions to Meghna. The Godavari-Krishna deltas in Andhra have required humidity. The Mahanadi Delta in Odisha could support similar varieties. Even Kaveri Basin could be adapted with selective breeding. The question is government will and investment. We don't need to centralize in Dhaka. We could rebuild the distributed network. Research stations in multiple states to adapt cotton varieties. Weaver training hubs in traditional centers like Patna, Malda, Varanasi. Market linkage through existing handloom cooperatives. Luxury branding as Indian muslin with regional terroirial labels. Would it be profitable immediately? No. But as a strategic cultural industrial project, it makes sense. We already spent crores preserving classic arts. Why not invest in textile engineering that once generated imperial wealth? The Bangladesh model shows feasibility. Their revived saris cost 5 to 10 lakh each. A clear luxury market that exists. India, with its larger artisan base and domestic market, could scale this into high-value export industry. Economic lessons. Distributed heritage as strength. The Dhaka muslin teaches us that distributed heritage is economic strength. First, when knowledge is concentrated in one center, it's vulnerable. The Mughal system enriched Dhaka but impoverished Patna, Malda, and other centers by stripping their talents. The modern India must decentralize craft preservation. Second, artisanal networks create resilience. Ancient India's textile dominance came from multiple specialized centers, not single monopolies. If one center flattered, others carried the tradition. Third, revival requires ecosystem thinking. We can't just find cotton research in isolation. We need to fund spinner trainings in Maharashtra, weaver revival in Bihar, design innovation in Delhi, and market access in Gujarat. Fourth, luxury value comes from narrative. The story of India's 2000 years muslin tradition is powerful than Dhaka's muslin. It allows for the regional varieties, price tiers, and scalable employment, reclaiming India's textile legacy. Dhaka's muslin was not a local miracle. It was the peak of India's distributed textile genius. When we talk about reviving it, we are not just talking about one fabric. We are talking about reclaiming a heritage that spanned from Ganga to Godavari, from Harappan to Mughals. The story mirrors other Indian industries dismantled during colonialism, but it offers hope. What was lost can be found again, not by copying Dhaka, but by reimagining the network. As India reclaims its global position, there is space for high tech and high craft. We don't need to choose between semiconductors and handlooms. We need the vision to invest in both. The question isn't just can we recreate Dhaka muslins, it is can we rebuild India's 2000-year tradition of weaving wealth. In our next episode, we will explore another lost industry. Until then, remember, true wealth is what knowledge can create. and vision can preserve. Subscribe to India's Business Insight for more such videos. Thanks for watching.